After the deadly floods, a search for solutions at the state capitol.
Do we need a better system for warning? Yes.
Yes.
What does that look like? I don't know.
Lawmakers back at the Capitol working toward ways to prevent future disasters and answering calls for accountability. Governor Abbott vetoed a bill to ban THC products and pushed lawmakers to regulate the products instead. But there's a backlash.
It's time for us to just go across the board with the ban because I don't think the regulation works.
We look at the looming conflict as lawmakers renew their push for a full ban. Pressure from the White House sets up a battle over voting lines in Texas.
What we are expecting for this round, regardless of what people say or submit, is that the maps are coming from the White House.
We dig deeper into the fight over redistricting and the tactics Democrats could use to shut it down.
I think it is obvious that the office has been misused, abused.
New faces join the race to replace Ken Paxton.
This is an opportunity for Democrats to finally coalesce around a message that is about solving problems.
We'll meet two Democrats who want to be your next Attorney General.
Produced from the Capitol in Austin and airing statewide, this is the award-winning State of Texas.
Hello and thank you for joining us for this special edition of State of Texas. I'm Josh Hinkle and we come to you this week from the state capitol where lawmakers have returned for a special session. There's a lot on the agenda, 18 items ranging from regulations on hemp products, new restrictions on abortion, and redistricting. But 4 items on the special session call focus on preparing for future floods. And with more than 100 people dead in Kerr County, including young campers, there is urgency for lawmakers to take action. In between the loss and rebuilding after the floods, there are questions about how to improve public safety warnings. On the first day of the special session, some people turned attention to a bill that failed to pass during the regular session. Jala Washington looks at support for legislation to give local governments more help with emergency communication systems.
We sent out invitations to flood-impacted families. Unfortunately, nobody's going to be with us today because there's a lot of funerals happening this week.
A chilling reality after Texas's July floods claimed the lives of at least 135 people. Now,
if everyone will just stand with me in silence for a minute, we're going to start with that. Thank you.
This moment of silence. At the Capitol on the first day of the legislative session, advocates push for legislation they feel could make a difference in future disasters.
If your only warning system is a cell phone alert, what happens to those who don't have one? Or those who live in areas where the signal is weak or non-existent?
House Bill 13 passed the House but not the Senate in the regular session. It would create a council to run a grant program and help local governments statewide with emergency communications equipment, and would also require the council to implement communication technology into the state's communications network.
A lot of Texans don't understand why we're not using a piece of legislation that's already written that would literally prevent the kind of tragedy.
It's going to be something that will be looked at. The reality also is this, and that is what's needed in that river basin at that location could be far different than what's needed in some other river basin across the state.
And as neighbors rebuild, a continued call for more action.
We have to get in there with our hands.
Jala Washington, State of Texas.
2 days into the special session, 18 senators and representatives came together to discuss the state's response and preparedness for the floods. Investigator Matt Grant was there and has more about the push for accountability.
There should have been an evacuation early in the day.
Anger from some impacted by the July 4th flooding.
This was a complete failure.
As Texas lawmakers begin hearing testimony related to the response.
Those local officials know when to order an evacuation and when not to.
2 days before the disaster, the Texas Division of Emergency Management says it activated the state's emergency response, sending resources, including to Kerr County, anticipating what it called heavy rainfall with the potential to cause flash flooding across West Texas and the Hill Country. Still, TDM Chief Nim Kidd says the severity caught everyone by surprise.
The forecast then for those 44 counties in that area was again 1 to 3 inches of rain.
On Wednesday, the Texas House and Senate committees on disaster preparedness met for the first time this special session, tasked with finding solutions.
Do we need a better system for warning? Yes.
Yes.
Part of the discussion centering on initial confusion, highlighted in Kerr County dispatch audio obtained by our investigative team.
Is there any way we can send a code red out to our Hunt residents asking them to find higher ground or stay home?
We have to get that approved with our supervisor.
But the supervisor, it says here, they couldn't be immediately available on the phone. Just another example of why we need to get this professionalized.
Along with calls for more training and statewide emergency management coordinator standards, lawmakers also brought up failures in communication equipment, like radios used by first responders. Representative Joe Moody co-authored House Bill 13 last regular session, in part to fix problems with interoperability. It failed to pass.
We are better than this. We've lost a lot in this, and it could have been better both before, during, and after. And we know that. And that's not a blame game. No, that's accountability.
Among those voting against HB 13 then, Representative Wes Verdell, whose district includes Kerr County. He now sits on this special committee.
Sometimes government actually has the problem of overreacting to a situation, so I think it's good to have thorough discussions, and even if it takes a little while for that to happen, I think that not overreacting immediately is a good thing.
Matt joins us now. So the committee ended up convening for 12 hours here at the Capitol for that initial meeting. What's next?
Well, leaders have said there will be several more meetings. The next one will be this Thursday in Kerrville, near where the flooding happened. Both the Lieutenant Governor and the House Speaker say this will be an opportunity to talk with local leaders and residents.
So speaking of local leaders, there were questions and criticism in and around the Capitol about their action during the flood. What have we heard about that?
Well, much of the questions have been about the flood alerts, their timing, and just days ago, the head of the Texas Division of Emergency Management said there were no evacuations in Kerr County. The sheriff there has said an after-action review will happen, and officials there tell us that process is well underway. We're also awaiting records that we've requested that could shed some light on the timeline of events.
So we know that Kerr County commissioners met in the past week as well. The judge there taking a lot of criticism as the county's top leader. What did they discuss at their meeting?
Yes, Josh, I watched that meeting. The county engineer told commissioners that while everybody wants to point blame at somebody, that nobody could have predicted this. But that's despite a 2017 flood awareness video produced by area officials that warned about the potential for, quote, monstrous and devastating flash floods. Commissioners learned the loss in value for the county related to flood damage is now more than $200 million. And Josh, the judge there, said that the county, that is going to put them in a financial bind, but we know right now that state lawmakers are discussing a flood relief package, so there's lots more to discuss on the table.
All right, thank you very much, Matt. Governor Abbott called on lawmakers to come up with a plan to regulate products containing THC, but some senators say that's not possible.
It is not a regulatable situation. There is no way to stay ahead of the chemist.
Why they're doubling down and pushing for a full ban. Change could be on the way when it comes to voting districts in the Lone Star State.
Prudent and proper for the legislative committees to take up the items that the governor has designated. And what the legislature does with that is up to the legislature.
The strategy in play to help Republicans gain seats in Congress and how Democrats are fighting back. Texas lawmakers are once again discussing legislation to ban products containing THC. The renewed debate at the Capitol comes after Governor Greg Abbott vetoed a bill that would have banned all consumable hemp products containing the psychoactive substance. The governor told lawmakers he wants regulation, but Republican senators say that's not possible. Capitol correspondent Dylan McKim explains.
It's a bit of deja vu.
Feels a little like Groundhog Day.
A new bill with the same effect, banning consumable hemp products containing THC, which can get someone high. The governor called for regulation on hemp products containing less than 3 milligrams of THC, but some Republican senators are pushing back.
It is not a regulatable situation. There is no way to stay ahead of the chemist.
The legislation is supported by many law enforcement leaders and concerned parents who say regulation is impossible, costly, and ineffective.
What's it going to cost and how effective is it? What are you getting for the money spent?
It would take years and years and millions of dollars.
Costs that are involved.
Early Wiley is the DA of Kaufman County. She says products in her county are testing for high concentrations of THC, and the process of testing is slowing down prosecution.
It's time for us to just go across the board with the ban because I don't think the regulation works.
If the problem is funding, why not slap an excise tax on the products?
Zachary Crow is a Houston attorney representing people in the industry who are fighting back against the narrative that regulation is too expensive. They say they welcome any regulation to ease concerns of safety risk, and he says he's willing to take legal action if they can't get the outcome they want.
But all I'm hearing in there from Republicans is that, no, you don't get the right to make up your own mind. We do. And with every fiber in my being, I will fight that until the day I die.
Dylan McKim, State of Texas.
The push to restrict THC comes after lawmakers expanded the compassionate use program. The law allows the use of low THC cannabis products for certain patients to treat conditions like epilepsy, cancer, and PTSD. This past session, lawmakers expanded the program to include people with chronic pain and Crohn's disease and allow patients to use things like prescribed inhalers and cannabis lotions. Pressure from the White House sets up a battle at the state capitol.
Mid-decade redistricting is pointless, unjust, and we won't let that happen quietly. I'm here to fight.
We dig deeper into the fight over redistricting and the tactics Democrats could use to shut it down. Republicans have dominated the news in the race to replace Ken Paxton, but two candidates from the blue team just launched their campaigns. How they're trying to win votes in the race for Texas Attorney General. President Donald Trump says he wants Texas lawmakers to redraw the state's congressional map. His goal is to help Republicans pick up 5 additional seats in the U.S. House of Representatives in next year's elections. On Thursday, the Texas House Select Committee heard testimony from the public on the plan. Capitol correspondent Dylan McKim looks closer at the debate.
This process, in my view, has nothing to do with making things fair.
State Democrats made it known they are against the Republican-led effort to redraw congressional districts known as redistricting.
I only know what I know, you only know what you know, and between the two of us, I don't think we know anything of why we're here.
Prudent and proper for the legislative committees to take up the items that the governor has designated. And what the legislature does with that is up to the legislature.
Governor Greg Abbott placed redistricting on the special session agenda in light of, quote, constitutional concerns. A U.S. Department of Justice letter said there are concerns about 4 of the state's congressional districts being racially gerrymandered. Although state Republicans stated in the past the map was drawn race blind.
Let's not allow the White House to put its arms into Texas.
Make a difference. Anyone from the public can submit a proposed map for consideration, but Texas Democrats argue only one map will be thoughtfully considered.
What we are expecting for this round, regardless of what people say or submit, is that the maps are coming from the White House.
The president has made it clear he wants to pull 5 new Republican seats out of Texas in this process. Currently, there is no bill filed to redistrict Texas, but those in the minority party are ready to use tools like leaving the state to break quorum to prevent redistricting from happening.
Whatever tool you use needs to be an effective tactic for an effective strategy. So we're keeping all options on the table.
Dylan joins us now. So Thursday's hearing ended abruptly, and several people who signed up to speak did not get the chance to address lawmakers. Why did that happen?
Yeah, that actually was planned. In the agenda for that committee hearing, it actually said that testimony was going to be limited to 2 minutes per person and capped at 5 hours total for that public testimony, which did come as a surprise to some of the people who were not aware of that rule. But the House Democrats that were part of that committee did stay after and listen to all the people who wanted to stay and have their voices heard. So that did last into the night as well. But people still have a chance to have their voice heard on the record with this committee. They already had a hearing in Houston, their second one in Houston yesterday morning, and they'll have their last and final hearing tomorrow night in Arlington. And you can, of course, join that via teleconference, so via Zoom. You don't actually have to be in person in Arlington to have your voice heard.
So in your story, Senator Cook mentioned the potential of Democrats leaving the legislature without a quorum to conduct business. They've done that before, we know. What is the likelihood they're going to try that again?
Well, Senator Cook is just an echo of all the Texas Democrats and really the national Democrats. We've heard them talk about breaking quorum. During a protest on Thursday, even State Representative Gina Hinojosa also said that she's ready to break that quorum. So it's a huge tool in their toolbox right now to sort of delay the inevitable is what we're trying to say here, because a quorum break has just never worked in the past. They've tried it on several occasions, and each time it has not gotten the solution or the outcome that Democrats were looking for. This is a 30-day special session. There is no congressional map that has been filed yet, so we don't know what that would look like or when the Democrats would use this strategy. It is likely they will do it. They've been talking about it so much, but will it work? Most likely not.
So beyond that, do they have any other plans to fight redistricting?
You know, there's the simple things, right? It's there's the communications of it all, trying to fight this in the media, protesting outside the Capitol, you know, raising your voice. That's one strategy, or just working with your Republican colleagues and seeing if, you know, behind closed doors, if you can work out some kind of deal that can come to a compromise. That is, of course, another solution or another tactic they can use in their toolbox. So many things can happen. We're looking at both, you know, the House and the Senate both can break quorum here. So it will be interesting to see how this plays out in the next 30 days.
All right, a lot to do with little time left.
Very little time, yes, of course.
Thanks, Dylan. While the National Republican Party wants to gain seats, redistricting could put some Texas Republicans at risk. That's because the current Texas maps already favor Republican candidates by large margins. Drawing maps to create more Republican seats would likely mean districts that favor GOP candidates by smaller margins, leading to more competitive races. For perspective, in the last presidential election, Donald Trump beat Kamala Harris by a landslide, taking 56% of the vote in Texas. If you take that percentage to the Texas congressional districts, Republicans would hold 22 of the state's 38 seats. But the current maps exceed the party's margin of victory in statewide races, giving Republicans nearly 2/3 of the state's seats in Congress. One seat in Congress is currently vacant after the death of Democrat Sylvester Turner back in March.
I think it is obvious that the office has been misused, abused.
New faces in the race to replace Ken Paxton.
This is an opportunity for Democrats to finally coalesce around a message that is about solving problems.
We'll meet two Democrats who want to be your next Attorney General. When Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton announced he would challenge John Cornyn in the Republican primary for U.S. Senate, it created an opening for his job. Now the election to replace Paxton is heating up. By the end of June, 3 Republicans had launched their campaigns for the office. Then earlier this month, 2 Democrats joined the race. Our politics team spoke with both candidates about their vision for the office and their message to Texas voters.
State Senator Nathan Johnson and former Galveston Mayor Joe Jaworski have made it clear they're unhappy with the current state of the Texas Attorney General's office.
I think it is obvious that the office has been misused, abused, and not used for the good purposes that it should be devoted to.
The Attorney General is simply a consigliere for the Republican re-election machine.
Johnson is an attorney who beat a Republican incumbent to earn the position he currently holds in the Texas Senate. He says he wants to align the office's priorities with protecting Texans.
You need to be protecting people from crime. That's probably going to mean working with DAs around the state. You need to protect them from market abuse, scams, price gouging, just generally being taken advantage of. And you need to protect people from policy that's being driven by political corruption.
Jaworski has more than 3 decades of experience as an attorney and finished second in the Democratic primary for the same position 3 years ago. He said he wants to return the office to a consumer protection agency and help improve voter turnout.
There are people who are canceling votes because the signature's not perfect, canceling votes because you can't remember whether you gave your Social Security or your voter ID number. These kind of gamesmanship are depriving people of their voice. So a voter enhancement will look at the law and allow for the greatest capability for people to vote.
Whoever comes out on top after the Democratic primary will have an uphill battle to flip the statewide position to a Democrat, something that has not been done since the 90s. Both say they feel it's the right time to capitalize.
There are changes afoot, and I do think there's a way to win this election. And I think that between swings in national mood, between the stain that Ken Paxton has left on the office, between the complicity of everybody around him and going along with it, I think people are really, really yearning for an independent mind to get in there and restore the integrity of the Attorney General's office.
There's a great dissatisfaction out there, Dylan. And so what I'd say is, when you look at how many people are dissatisfied and you add to that an equal number, if not a multiple of that number, who simply don't vote, this is an opportunity for Democrats to finally coalesce around a message that is about solving problems rather than simply manufacturing re-election talking points.
In Austin, I'm Dylan McKim.
You can see more from our interviews with the two Democrats running for Attorney General right now on our website. We posted the complete interviews with Joe Jaworski and Nathan Johnson in our Newsmakers section. Just look for the links in this week's State of Texas story. Nathan Johnson is not the only state senator in the race. So far, 2 Senate Republicans have launched campaigns for Attorney General as well. Galveston Senator Mays Middleton is the president of an oil company. He pledged to fund his campaign with $10 million of his own money. And Houston Senator Joan Huffman is a former state prosecutor who also served as a district court judge. There is a third Republican in the race. Aaron Reitz is a former aide to Ken Paxton. In June, he left a role serving the U.S. Justice Department to launch his campaign. Thank you again for joining us for this special edition of State of Texas. I'm Josh Hinkle, and we'll be back next week to bring you an in-depth look at Texas politics.